Death Stranding is now almost 5 months old. It is a video game that has been almost completely forgotten about. It had come out, it had been hyped up for years, it'd been promoted for years, and when it finally released, when it finally came out, it was immediately panned and people forgot about it. It is. This is a game that should probably have gone down in history as one of the worst ever. Like, from a notable developer, a noted, famous Japanese developer. This should have been a career destroyer. And in a way, I think it was. But it really goes to show you just where the gaming industry, where the gaming press, where the gaming YouTube scene is right now, where no one wants to admit that. No one wants to address the fact that Kojima put out a dud. No one wants to address the fact that Death Stranding isn't what Sony promised it would be. Like, nobody wants to admit that all these sketchy things are just right there. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to even bring it up or talk about it or even suggest that there could be anything wrong with PlayStation, with Kojima, with Death Stranding. It's complete silence on every front. And I'm seeing people like get excited over remakes. Like, two of the big releases this year have been Resident Evil 3 Remake, which was disappointing, and Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is incredibly disappointing, although people don't want to admit it. Why? We have reached the point where the gaming audience is so beaten down, so desperate, so depraved, so idiotic, that they're willing to go to bat for, defend, hype up, buy, and then never play everything that comes out. From like Doom Eternal to Resident Evil 3 to Final Fantasy VII-R. Like, Resident Evil 3 hasn't even been out for like a month yet, and people are already spreading rumors about like 4 being remade and 8. It's just no. The entire meme for the past couple of years since Devil May Cry 5 came out, like, oh, is Capcom back? Capcom's redemption arc. And yet somehow something like Resident Evil 3 Remake can come out and not really be addressed very much. Like, no one's talking about what this means for the company. No one's talking about what this means for the future of Resident Evil. Like, you don't see people banding together and saying that, like, oh, we probably shouldn't support Resident Evil anymore, guys. We can't allow this level of decline in quality to continue. You don't see any of that. Like, these people are already hyping up the next thing. Like, they are already talking about the next product that they can buy. It's disgusting. Gamers are dead, essentially. Gamers have like the worst taste, right? They have no credibility. They cannot defend their opinions. They cannot stand by their statements or their purchases. They just consume. They just mindlessly just eat up everything that Sony shits out in front of them, whether it be like a Final Fantasy VII remake or Resident Evil 3 remake, or just even things like, you know, Death Stranding. You know what I mean? Like, if it's phenomenal to me how, like, legitimately really good games, including Tokyo Mirage Session, Star Fox Zero, Paper Mario Color Splash, Devil's Third, Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, Metroid Prime Federation Force, Metroid Samus Returns, Ever Oasis, Codename Steam. Amazing. It's amazing how so many of these great Nintendo IPs, you know, ARMS, right? Defining example there. These great Nintendo IPs were completely shat on by the gaming audience when they first were announced up until they came out. Like, a lot of them have dedicated fan bases, but they're not nearly as positively talked about as they should be, because dedicated fanboys are going out there and attacking these games every time they get made. And yet somehow Capcom gets a pass with Resident Evil 3 Remake. Square Enix gets a pass with Final Fantasy VII Aura, which is a disaster, by the way. And Kojima gets a pass with Death Stranding, which is his first major IP after Metal Gear. And it was a bomb. There's no denying it. There's no justifying it. There's no damage controlling it. Like, Hideo Kojima put out a bad video game. And if you don't put critical thought into this kind of stuff, if you don't really care about what you're doing, what you're playing, what the game is, like, fundamentally, like, if you don't care about the actual quality of the game, like, you have no business hyping up specific games, products, and companies over others. Like, you simply are too ignorant to have a real opinion. And that is my stance on, the PlayStation Nation going forward. They are simply too arrogant, like, too ignorant to make a rational decision of the quality of other company IPs, particularly Nintendo IPs. But I guess this can extend to companies like Platinum Games and maybe Monolith Soft as well. Monolith Soft is owned by Nintendo, but you know what I mean. We've seen how Devil May Cry fanboys, which of course Devil May Cry started on PlayStation, will constantly insist that Bayonetta was never good and that DMC is like all you ever really need, and it's just such a disgusting opinion to have. When you get right down to it, Death Stranding is the only thing that game had behind it was hype. And if you take that away, it had nothing at all.